Shalom. Call halal Yahweh by Shanab Shai by Shemakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth, in sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth that be like unto the speckled bird. To the Akwath that are listening and learning. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. Also like to thank once again the brothers and the sisters who have been giving alms and things of that nature. I said was greatly appreciated and a great help to myself and to the brotherhood, the water. But for this video, this is a video that was put up by Robert Kiyosaki, who was a extremely wealthy individual here in America. He was a very highly sought after motivational speaker, and he's pretty much telling you that it's game over. So I'm going to just basically let him speak, and then I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm just going to jump in with some scriptures and some commentary just to solidify it. So without any further ado, Robert Kiyosaki.
We're already finished. I hate to say this, but I think it's the end of the American empire. Our Federal Reserve Bank, our Treasury, and our government has messed up the US dollar so much.
Now that he said that, the Fed isn't even a part of your government. So you would think that, all these people with these lie IQs would have uprised, and gotten rid of the Fed 4 or 5 decades ago. Yeah, the Fed is not a part of your government, yet it dictates policy. And the reason why you're in the position that you're in as Americans is because of the Fed, which isn't federal at all. It just gave itself that name. All right. Just like if I went out and started a gang and call us the Feds, that's pretty much what they did. Pretty much.
That they have to find a way to keep people happy.
And one of the ways they did that, one of the ways they got power, was they created fiat currency, which basically translate to "so be it" or "let it be," and that's pretty much the same thing that happened in Rome. That fiat, that they took a true currency and devalued it, and tried to entertain the people with bread and circus. And he's probably going to make some parallels to that, but let's let him finish.
The stimulus money they print, everybody says, oh God, it's because of they shut the economy down and this and that. And everybody says, yeah, so they're going to give me PPP and all of this stuff. So just remember this, that money comes from production. And when we pay people not to produce, which is PPP and all that, we're just paying them not to revolt. And that's what happened during the Roman times. And so that's why I say it's the end of the American empire, because our money is corrupt. Now, would I take the money? Absolutely. We're talking about, don't fight the government, don't fight the Fed, don't fight politics. If they're going to give me $1,000, I'll take it, but I would convert it into either gold, silver, or Bitcoin. So now it's all coming apart at the seams. So gold, silver, Bitcoin, they're not the answer, but they're kind of an insurance policy against the incompetence of our leaders. The more the government pay, and this is globally, it's not just the US or it's not a racial thing. They're just paying everybody not to work today because the monetary system is coming apart. But you've got to be smarter than the government, which is not that hard to do.
And see, the main reason that this monetary system is coming apart is because the nations of the world are not using the American currency. And we've been telling you this on the highways and byways for the last 12 years and have been watching it. And it just took longer than I expected it to. But, everything happens in the Lord's time, because what's going on right now, I thought this was going to be happening in 2013, 14, 2013, 12. But you know, who knew that they were going to do quantitative easing, which just kicked it down the, there's the saying that they use, they kicked the can down the road. So all they did was push their problem down the road, and they basically made it worse. But this is the book of James, and it reads, "Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten." So the money system is totally corrupted, and no one wants to use it anymore. And the nations that have been bullied and misused and victims of the Fed and its policies of the Western way of doing things, including many American allies, they were tired of being punished for wanting to do commerce and business with nations that America had deemed enemies of them or whatever. And it's like, well, we don't have a problem with them, and so basically they were putting sanctions on their own partners and or hurting their partners for making money, because they were putting sanctions on nations that some of their partners were actually doing trade with. And basically people just tired of being bullied, by America. All right, and it reads, "Your gold and your silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire." And that's what's happening with all this debt, because this is a debt-based system and a debt-based currency, which is completely failing. And no one wants to deal with it anymore. And that's pretty much what's gotten you to this point now. It says, actually, I left out some part. Let me go back to verse 3. And it said, "Ye have heaped treasure together for the last days." No, I didn't. Salakia. Let me read verse 3 again. "Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rest of them shall be witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days." But it's not going to help you, because he's talking about Bitcoin and gold and silver. Hey, the scriptures clearly say that all that gold and silver, everything, all the substances of the heathen, all the substance, the milk, is going to be given unto the children of the Most High, man. That's all that's going to happen.
And it's just coming apart right now. And when the Fed talks about stimulus checks, well, the only people that get rich are Bezos and Zuckerberg. They got all that money for free. It goes into them via BlackRock, a hedge fund, and it goes straight into Wall Street. And then the guys who own Facebook and Amazon get richer. It's always been socialism, but they don't tell you that. The Federal Reserve Bank is a socialist or a communist organization.
That's a very powerful statement. The Federal Reserve is a socialist, but they're showing you the Russian flag, but the Federal Reserve is a socialist and a communist organization. And when you look at how socialists and communists work, this is what they're pushing in America now. That's what's happening. He's breaking it all down to you. All right. This is Jeremiah 49:7, and it reads, "Concerning Edom, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished for the prudent? From the prudent is their wisdom vanished?" And so their schemes are all failing. Everything that they do now just backfires on them. Kind of like how Vocab Malone keeps shining a light on the Hebrew Israelites in a negative manner, but all it does is forces people to read and ask questions that he don't know the answers to or don't want to answer. All right? We can't do anything against this truth but for it. Or the foolishness of people like Chief Keef, who's trying to build in a failing country that's completely not for your people, who your enemies control all the resources, and you'd have to go to them to get. All right? Sounds like somebody been getting money from the people and abusing it. All right, doing the work for filthy lucre's sake, and not for the and not trying to just feed the sheep, edify and prophesy, which is what the scriptures say. How that's didn't really mean to go in on Chief Ephraim. That's what I meant to say. I might have said Chief Keef, but yeah, that's kind of who he reminds me of. That's how he's acting, because he's very carnal, man. All right, the scriptures, talking about families and feast days and all that. I saw the video that the elder Manata Zakba did on him, and he's a very carnal man. And Esau's a very carnal man, and that's why Esau's failing. And Chief Ephraim is taking the page out of his book, man. You're trying to do something that's not, just because it's not within the realm of the law. You're not violating the law, but it's not expedient, which means it's foolish. And it's not time. It's not the place. It's a time to tear down, not a time to build. The Lord is tearing America down. How you going to build something in the Lord that the Lord is tearing down? That's foolishness, man. All right? As foolish as how Esau wants to go to this UBI now. Well, he just pays people to stay at home to keep, that's the same thing they did in Rome as it was falling. The bread and circus. But let's let Robert Kiyosaki talk a little more. It's almost over.
But they'll never tell you that. The more I studied, the more I felt I needed a shower. They were just lying to us. When the market crashed into 2020, March of 2020, only 16% of the teachers, firefighters, and police officers' pension was funded. 16%. So they had $16 for every 100 they owed.
That's crazy. $16. Look at, you see that? Let me read that Jeremiah 49:7 again. Concerning Edom, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Yeah, they complete a bunch of dun-da-duns. Deethies, whatever you want to call them, man. These guys, the lie IQ has totally failed them. And that was for their police and fire departments. How's America going to run without them? Ooh-wee.
Now it's down to 6.
Ooh.
They're broke. So they're covering all of this up. So they want to bring UBI in.
And COVID's a big part of that cover too. All right. That's what COVID was being used for. To hide the crash of the dollar, to have something to blame it on so that they don't take the blame themselves. All right. They say, well, if it wasn't for COVID, we would have made. No. Remember, you're in the middle of a housing crash. You had a housing bubble, a car loan bubble, a student loan bubble, credit card bubble. You had a used car bubble, and you were in the midst of the third year of the retail apocalypse of all these national brands and stores, companies failing and closing down. This place was finished. COVID was the cover. That's all it is. The cover for the digital reset.
So they can just mass produce money, and so they're going to pay people not to work so they can escape. There's a thing called the debt to GDP ratio. So when the thing crashed in 2020 in March, the debt went up and the GDP, the gross domestic product, went down. So that's what I was saying. So we produced less. Debt went up, GDP went down. And if this coronavirus comes back, which I think it will, we're back.
Oh yeah, it's gonna come back. All right, the corona and the dollar's destroyed, man. Why? Because there's no future in it. There's no future in America. So once again, looking at this, why would some idiot who refers to himself as a leader of the people, want to build in a place that's burning, that's going to be completely wiped off the face of the earth? It's sure this guy's not spiritual. He's no different. This guy's just basically, just a Christian with fringes on. That's all. That's what Creflo Dollar and them and all these guys are trying to do, man. But this is Ecclesiastes 12:3. It says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinder cease because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened. Right? Because there's no future, man. There's no future. That's why the windows are darkened. They don't see it. It's burning. It's literally on fire, especially out west.
Because the debt to GDP, once debt to GDP passes 90%, we're bankrupt. Today it's 115% debt to GDP in America. So we're already bankrupt. And so the UBI is no different than the Romans paying the
as universal basic income, by the way. Universal
watch
basic
the
income.
Dallas Cowboys play the Green Bay Packers. Nothing really changed.
And and that destroyed decayed Coliseum
Boys play the
is basically evidence of the failure of the same model that America is following, was the same one that this one followed. And spiritually, America is Rome. That's one of the spiritual connections. All right, spiritually, it is Rome. All right, and Rome went down, and it needed to, because most of the blood that was spilt in that arena was so-called black people's, blood, was Israelite blood. All right, those were the main people fighting and dying in that Coliseum, the same way they entertain in the Coliseums today.
Green Bay Packers. Nothing really changes. People are that stupid, but they don't know. They really don't know. What they're doing is they're propping up zombies. And the zombies are companies that are mismanaged, like Hertz right now is completely bankrupt. Boeing is bankrupt. The cruise ships are bankrupt. Ford's bankrupt.
No jobs. And the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. The machines aren't going. You don't hear the manufacturing. The machines are turned off. They're rusting away and collecting dust, becoming nests for rats and mice and raccoons and things of that nature. And the door shall be shut in the streets, and when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird. That's your electric rooster, your alarm clock. And the daughters of music shall be brought low. We don't even want to talk about how bad the music is right now.
Correct. And the Fed, the Treasury, and Wall Street keep propping them up. Well, it makes it harder for your generation. Like I always said to you, the millennials, man, you guys have been screwed. It's
Everybody's screwed. There is no future. All right, so drink your beers, party, have a good time, do your opioids. Well, you're definitely doing that, and just enjoy these last few moments, man. Because what's next for Esau, Edom, and all the heathen is shackles and chains. Call Halal Yahweh Bashem Abishai Bashem Rakakadash Wa Ababa Shalom.